He goes, that's what I want to talk to you about. He goes, the money you gave me, I worked really hard, and I got a scholarship. I don't need your money anymore.
Porta potties reduced to steaming piles.
Oh, yeah.
For over 30 years, America believed they truly knew Jay Leno, the charming, clean-cut TV legend with the perfect smile. But behind that polished image, he was living a fascinating double life. Away from the bright lights, Jay drifted into a world powered by gasoline, steel, and roaring engines, a side of him few ever got to see. For years, he kept it all hidden, balancing two identities that couldn't have been more different. Only now are the layers of Jay Leno's real story being revealed, showing a man far more complex than anyone imagined. Born in 1950 in New Rochelle, New York, Jay grew up in a hardworking home with his Italian-American father, Angelo, who sold insurance, and his Scottish mother, Catherine, who kept the family steady and strong. His older brother, Patrick, served in Vietnam before becoming a lawyer, a quiet hero in his own right. Their family believed in one thing above all: work hard, stay grounded, and never complain. Jay's real childhood took shape in Andover, Massachusetts, where their modest home came with one magical place: an old garage that became his personal universe. He'd spend hours taking machines apart, curious about how everything worked. Cars became his first love, and that spark of curiosity never left him. Later, he'd realize that fixing an engine gave him the same rush as making an audience burst into laughter. After high school, Jay went on to Emerson College in Boston, majoring in speech therapy and graduating in 1972. But books and lectures weren't enough for his restless energy. He turned his dorm into Emerson's very first comedy club, testing jokes on friends by night and fixing cars by day. That wild mix of grease, humor, and ambition became the foundation of the two worlds Jay would master: the roaring garage and the dazzling stage. That two-shift grind defined Jay's early life: mechanic by day, comedy hustler by night. The Boston comedy scene in the 1970s was exploding, and Jay was right in the middle of it, juggling wrenches and punchlines. He once joked that during the day, he was covered in grease, and at night, surrounded by laughter. The perfect summary of how his two worlds collided. In 1973, Jay packed up his tools and his dreams and drove straight to Los Angeles, chasing bigger stages and riskier chances. He fixed cars at a Burbank garage just to keep the lights on, then hit the Comedy Store each night, performing for crowds that didn't always laugh. But he never stopped grinding. Money was tight, yet his determination never cracked. After years of struggling, everything changed in 1977 when he landed a spot on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. That night, March 2nd, became the turning point of his career. Jay's calm style, sharp wit, and down-to-earth jokes caught Carson's eye instantly, making him a repeat guest and a rising star in the comedy world. Through the late 1970s, Jay's momentum grew fast. He popped up on TV shows like Good Times, Fun with Dick and Jane, One Day at a Time, and Alice. By 1978, he was even appearing in films such as American Hot Wax and Silver Bears. Everywhere he went, audiences connected with him, a comic who spoke like the people watching him, not like a Hollywood superstar pretending to be one. By the 1980s, Jay had become Carson's go-to fill-in host, and NBC executives took notice. He wasn't flashy or scandal-prone, just reliable, sharp, and always prepared. While others in Hollywood got caught up in chaos, Jay kept his focus locked. Offstage, he was usually in his tiny Burbank garage, covered in oil, rebuilding old cars from the ground up. To Jay, fixing a car wasn't just a hobby. It was discipline, patience, and passion all rolled into one. He once said working on an engine was like writing a joke. You keep adjusting it until it runs perfectly. That mindset shaped his career and made him unstoppable. From 1985 to 1988, he became a regular face on weekend comedy shows, turning into one of TV's most trusted names. Then came 1986. NBC made it official. Jay Leno was now Carson's permanent substitute host. That move told everyone he wasn't just another funny guy. He was the future. From those long, oily nights in a garage to the blinding stage lights of late-night television, Jay was stepping into his main era. No longer the side act, but the headliner. By May 25th, 1992, the moment finally came. Jay Leno took over The Tonight Show, but that victory came with pressure like never before. Replacing a legend meant walking into a battlefield where every joke, every gesture, every move was judged. Yet Jay stayed grounded, driven by the same steady discipline that had carried him since his garage days. Taking over the seat Johnny Carson had owned for decades wasn't just a promotion, it was a cultural earthquake. Jay Leno had officially stepped into one of the most iconic roles in television history, right at 11:35 p.m. every night. Over the next 20 years, that stage would become the heartbeat of American late-night comedy. But his early months were anything but smooth. Carson's loyal fans weren't convinced. Critics tore into him, calling NBC's move a gamble and questioning whether Jay had what it took to keep the magic alive. The headlines weren't kind, but Jay didn't waste a single second arguing back. Instead, he focused on the grind, showing up, taping every episode, sharpening every joke, and letting consistency do the talking. He practically lived at the studio, working 18-hour days. Mornings were crammed with production meetings, afternoons buried in script edits, evenings on stage under the studio lights, and nights spent at comedy clubs across Los Angeles, keeping his timing sharp. That nonstop routine became his armor. When his father passed away in 1994, Jay gave a rare glimpse into the weight he carried, saying, "You know, it really is lonely at the top. You have no idea, but we'll fight the good fight, Pop." Those words showed the pressure behind the smile. Success came with a cost only he truly understood. By 1995, Jay had done the impossible. The Tonight Show with Jay Leno crushed the ratings, pulling in over 5 million viewers nightly and overtaking The Late Show with David Letterman. NBC's ad revenue skyrocketed by more than 30%, locking Jay in as one of the network's most powerful forces. Off-screen, he never slowed down. Jay toured relentlessly, performing almost 150 live shows a year across the country, from tiny Las Vegas stages to massive university arenas. He once admitted that if he stayed off stage too long, he actually missed the smell of the audience. That's how deep the passion ran. The late 90s became Jay's golden era. The Cheers finale in 1993 pulled in a jaw-dropping 22 million viewers, and The Tonight Show's 10th anniversary in 2002 drew nearly 12 million more. NBC reported that weekly profits topped $30 million, numbers that placed Jay in a league all his own. Yet behind all that success, his work ethic stayed unshakable. When his mother passed in 1993, Jay took only 2 days off before returning to the studio. To his co-workers, he seemed unstoppable. No excuses, no burnout, just pure drive. Jay himself put it simply, "I work, I sleep, then I work again. That's all." By 2000, NBC quietly began looking ahead, preparing for what would become the next major shakeup in late-night TV. A move that would soon turn Jay's career upside down once again. NBC's decision to name Conan O'Brien as Jay Leno's successor came shockingly early. 8 years before the handoff. Announced in 2001, the plan was to have Conan take over The Tonight Show in 2009. Jay took the news with grace, telling reporters that every show needs its next chapter. But behind that calm professionalism, fans sensed tension brewing beneath the surface. On May 29, 2009, Jay hosted what was supposed to be his final episode of The Tonight Show after an incredible 17-year run. He thanked everyone who had helped him along the way and ended with one touching line: "This has been the best job in the world." That moment felt like the curtain closing on a major era of late-night TV. But only months later, NBC shocked everyone again, announcing The Jay Leno Show, a brand new primetime series. The move set off a chain reaction that would spiral into one of the biggest media dramas of the decade. The tension between Jay and Conan quickly became front-page news, sparking a storm that divided fans and rattled NBC's reputation. By the time the dust settled, Jay had already spent 2 decades dominating television, earning a reputation as one of the hardest-working figures in the business. And even when people assumed he was stepping back, Jay was only shifting gears, literally. He dove headfirst into the world he loved most, the garage, surrounded by metal, oil, and engines that roared louder than any audience. Then, in March 2010, everything flipped again. After months of chaos between NBC and Conan, Jay returned to The Tonight Show. His comeback closed one of the network's messiest chapters and instantly revived ratings, proving his connection with viewers was stronger than ever. Jay kept that same relentless pace until February 6, 2014 when he officially passed the torch to Jimmy Fallon and said goodbye to NBC for good. But Jay being Jay, retirement wasn't really in his vocabulary. Just months later, he launched Jay Leno's Garage, a one-hour car special that turned into an instant hit. The excitement was so massive that CNBC quickly ordered a full series. From 2015 to 2022, Jay Leno's Garage ran for 7 seasons, filmed right inside his enormous personal workspace in Burbank. The show became the perfect blend of horsepower and humor, with Jay test driving rare cars, breaking down engines, and chatting with big-name guests like Elon Musk, Jerry Seinfeld, and even President Joe Biden. Jay often joked, "Cars are the only thing that make me quiet. When the engine starts, everything else stops." That line became the motto of his life. His Big Dog Garage is one of the most jaw-dropping collections on Earth, more than 180 cars and 160 motorcycles, valued at over $50 million. Among the crown jewels, a 1994 McLaren F1 worth more than $20 million, 2 Doble steam cars once owned by Howard Hughes, and a 1909 Baker Electric that he gifted to his wife. Jay even owns 3 fully functional 1963 Chrysler turbine cars, something no one else in the world can claim. Every vehicle is restored by hand, carefully documented, and personally tested by Jay himself. Reporters often describe his garage as part workshop, part museum, a living monument to engineering, history, and passion. Whether in front of a crowd or under the hood of a classic car, Jay Leno never really stopped performing. He just traded studio lights for the glow of headlights. Jay continues to bring his signature energy to every corner of his life, even off camera. He writes the Motormouth column for Popular Mechanics, where he breaks down everything from steam car restorations to hybrid testing and even jet-powered experiments. His style stays simple and straight to the point, clear, hands-on, and filled with that same no-nonsense attitude fans have always loved. And somehow, despite his packed schedule, Jay still performs nearly 150 stand-up shows every single year across the U.S. Fans can't believe his pace. But Jay just laughs it off, saying, "I still do the same thing. Fix cars by day, perform by night. That's what keeps me sharp." Decades later, that same rhythm still defines him. In his personal life, Jay and his wife Mavis have built something rare in Hollywood: quiet stability. Married since 1980, they chose to keep their relationship private and peaceful. Mavis has dedicated her life to human rights work through the Feminist Majority Foundation, while Jay often says, "She's the one who taught me how to be quiet." In 1998, they made headlines with a $100,000 donation to support women in Afghanistan, a gesture still remembered today. Beyond that, they quietly give each year to educational programs and automobile museums without ever seeking attention. Even in his 70s, Jay refuses to slow down. He runs on only 4 hours of sleep a night and works 16 hours straight, every single day. When asked if he ever gets tired, Jay once replied, "No, I'm still doing what I love. If I stop, I'll rust. Like an engine that never runs." That line sums up his entire philosophy. But just when everything seemed steady, life threw some shocking challenges. A streak of unexpected accidents suddenly tested the strength he'd built over decades. In November 2022, while repairing a 1907 white steam car inside his garage, a small spark in the fuel chamber suddenly ignited. Flames burst out, leaving Jay with serious burns to his face, hands, and chest. Second and third degree injuries that could have changed everything. He was rushed to the Grossman Burn Center in West Hills, where he spent 10 intense days undergoing multiple skin grafts and recovery treatments. Photos of his bandaged face quickly spread across the media, revealing a vulnerable side of him fans had never seen. Still, Jay stayed quiet and composed. In his only brief interview afterward, he said calmly, "My face was on fire." The simplicity of that line hit hard, showing just how severe the moment had been. Doctors later credited his remarkable recovery to his strong physical health and an unstoppable mindset that refused to quit. But fate wasn't finished testing him yet. Just 2 months later, in January 2023, Jay suffered another scare. While riding one of his vintage motorcycles, he hit a wire stretched across the road, throwing him off balance and leaving him with a broken collarbone and 2 cracked ribs. Even then, lying in the hospital, he refused to cancel his comedy schedule, joking to reporters, "I cracked a few parts, but the laughter's still intact." Through it all, Jay proved exactly why he's lasted this long. Not just because of fame or fortune, but because of grit, humor, and an iron will that never bends, no matter how rough the road gets. Jay handled it all with his trademark calm, like it was just another day in the garage. By mid-2023, when people asked how he managed to bounce back after so many close calls, he just smiled and said, "I grew up in a garage. Accidents are normal." Within 3 weeks of his burn injuries, he was already back on stage in Las Vegas performing for over 2,000 people. And unbelievably, no one could even tell he'd just gone through major reconstructive surgery. Then, early in 2024, came another setback. While filming a car test in Pennsylvania, Jay slipped down an 18-meter slope, injuring his wrist and bruising his face. But in true Jay fashion, he brushed it off, saying, "Feeling good. As long as I can work, I'm alive." That dry humor and resilience never left him. Fans were concerned, but Jay refused to take it easy. Just a week later, he showed up at a vintage car exhibition, arms still bandaged, grin still intact, waving to everyone like nothing had happened. One close friend even recalled that after the fall, Jay's first words weren't about himself, but the car. "Is the car okay?" That's how deep his love for machines runs. But 2024 brought more than physical challenges. It brought something far more personal and painful. Jay's wife, Mavis, was diagnosed with progressive memory loss, a heartbreaking shift that forced the couple, known for keeping their life private, to open up publicly about what they were facing. On April 1st, 2024, a Los Angeles court granted Jay full legal guardianship over Mavis's medical and financial care, giving him the ability to protect her in the way he felt best. In the filing, Jay wrote that he wanted every choice made with love and absolute safety. Afterward, he told reporters softly, "Love is taking care of each other when one can't." Those words revealed a gentler side of him that few had ever seen. According to his attorney, Mavis sometimes no longer recognizes Jay, with doctors confirming that her condition had advanced to the point where she needed constant care. Still, Jay refused to let her fade away from the life they'd built together. He continued taking her to small events, saying that familiar routines and surroundings seemed to keep her spirits grounded. By early summer 2024, Jay was back doing what he loved, filming Jay Leno's garage. Wearing his signature denim and leather, he showed off a fully restored vintage electric car, smiling just like the old days. When reporters later asked him about all the hardships and accidents, Jay just laughed and said, "I don't think I've had trouble. I just fix cars. Sometimes the cars fight back." That line summed him up perfectly. Witty, grounded, and unbreakable. Doctors confirmed his recovery had gone remarkably well. His skin healed, his bones strengthened, and his overall health stayed solid. Even after years of chaos, injury, and emotional strain, Jay Leno kept doing what he'd always done, pushing forward, working hard, and facing life with humor, grit, and that unstoppable drive that's defined him for over 50 years. As 2025 arrived, Jay Leno's story took on a deeper meaning. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about holding on to purpose and passion, even as time tried to slow him down. Turning 75 didn't change a thing for him. After 2 years of recovery and personal challenges, Jay kicked off a massive national tour in February, starting in Florida and hitting states like Connecticut, New Jersey, Nevada, and California. Nearly 170 shows in total. Crowds packed every venue, drawn to see the man who had faced 3 serious accidents and still refused to quit. Jay walked on stage the same way he always had. No flashy entrance, no heavy production, just him and the microphone. Every show began with his signature opener. "I just finished fixing a car and it didn't blow up." The audience roared every time. Meanwhile, Jay Leno's garage kept thriving online, drawing millions of views as Jay explored electric cars, hybrids, and new automotive tech. In one clip featuring the Cadillac Celestiq, he grinned and said, "I don't buy them all. I just keep the ones that make me happy." That line captured everything about him, calm, witty, and content with simple joy. Another episode showed him test driving the Ford GT hybrid around his Burbank track, breaking down every detail, from throttle feel to engine response, with pure, unfiltered expertise. No hype, no sales pitch, just Jay doing what he loved best, talking cars with real passion. Thousands of fans flooded the comments saying the same thing. He's not old, he's just continuing. To them, Jay wasn't aging, he was timeless. His discipline still amazed people. Jay stuck to the same routine he'd followed for decades. 4 hours of sleep, early mornings, cold water instead of coffee, No alcohol, no cigarettes, no sugar, nothing that slowed him down. His doctor once joked, "He's the only patient I know who never takes a day off." Jay turned that into a punchline on stage, laughing at his own unstoppable pace. By 2025, his personal fortune had grown to around $450 million, with his world-famous car collection making up 10 to 15% of that total. His Big Dog garage in Burbank stayed his main workshop, home base, and storage for his treasured machines. Most days you'd find Jay right there, sleeves rolled up, working alongside his small team of mechanics, restoring one classic car at a time, just like he did 50 years ago. When massive wildfires hit Los Angeles in January 2025, Jay didn't sit back. Instead, he jumped into action, driving his vintage fire truck with a group of friends to deliver supplies to firefighters and rescue crews. While others chased awards and recognition, Jay stayed grounded. When reporters asked why he rarely accepted honors, he replied, "I don't like standing in front of a camera to get a trophy. I like standing in a garage doorway watching smoke rise from the exhaust." That quote said it all. He cared more about the work than the spotlight. Later that same year, during an interview, someone asked about his wife, Mavis. Jay's tone softened instantly. "She still got the fire," he said quietly. "That's what love is." Then, after a short pause, he smoothly shifted back to talking about engines, almost as if that subject grounded him again. That small, emotional moment revealed more about Jay than any long biography ever could. It showed why he kept moving, why he never stopped. By late 2025, Jay was back in public once more, attending a fundraising event for burn patients in California, smiling, shaking hands, and standing tall. Despite everything life had thrown at him, Jay Leno's engine was still running strong. By the end of 2025, Jay Leno stood as living proof that true passion doesn't fade. It just changes gears. Even after a lifetime of fame, setbacks, accidents, and quiet heartbreak, he kept his foot on the gas, refusing to let anything slow him down. But this phase of his life wasn't just about cars or comedy anymore. It was about legacy, the kind that's built not through trophies or headlines, but through decades of showing up, working hard, and staying the same genuine man he always was. As the new year approached, Jay's schedule was still packed. Non-stop tours, garage projects, interviews, and charity appearances. He didn't need to do any of it, but he wanted to. He'd often tell people, if you stop doing what you love, that's when you really break down. To Jay, the engine wasn't just under a hood, it was in the heart. Throughout 2025, his presence online grew even stronger. Clips from Jay Leno's garage started going viral again, especially the ones where he combined humor with deep car knowledge, laughing while explaining how to rebuild a rare engine or talking about how electric vehicles might shape the next generation of driving. Fans loved how he made complex mechanics sound simple, wrapping it all in jokes and warmth. "He's the last of his kind," one commenter wrote. "No one else works, talks, or lives like Jay anymore." That sense of timelessness followed him everywhere. When other entertainers were focused on reinvention or image makeovers, Jay stayed exactly who he was. No filters, no PR games, no social media scandals, just work, laughter, and a deep love for machines. At car shows, people lined up for hours just to talk to him, and Jay always took the time to shake hands, answer questions, or share a quick story about an old carburetor or a forgotten model. He didn't act like a celebrity. He acted like your friendly neighborhood mechanic who just happened to be a television icon. In private, his days were structured but peaceful. Each morning started early with a cold shower, black jeans, and a denim shirt, his uniform of simplicity. He'd eat a small breakfast, check on Mavis, then head to the garage. Music would play softly in the background, often old jazz or Motown, as he tinkered with engines for hours on end. His crew described the space as a moving museum, where history came to life through noise, smell, and motion. Every car had a story, and Jay could tell you every one of them by heart. When he bought it, how he restored it, and what it meant to him. But behind the grease and the laughs, those close to him noticed a quieter side emerging. Age had given him perspective, a new appreciation for time and how fleeting it really is. He often talked about the people who helped shape his path. His parents, who taught him to work hard and stay humble, Johnny Carson, who gave him his first shot, and Mavis, who stood by him through every rise and fall. When interviewers asked what success really meant to him, Jay's answer was simple: to go home and still feel proud of what you did that day. As 2025 closed, he began hosting small charity shows to raise funds for hospitals, burn recovery programs, and veterans' causes. The same communities that had supported him through the hardest times of his life. He'd walk out on stage with that same relaxed stride, the audience cheering before he even said a word. Sometimes he'd pause, take in the room, and say, "I never really planned all this. I just worked, and somehow, here we are." The crowd always responded with thunderous applause. During one show in Nevada, Jay shared a moment that summed up everything he'd learned over 75 years. He said, "You can fix a car when it breaks, you can rebuild a machine, but people, they're different. You can't fix them. You just love them anyway." The crowd went completely silent for a beat before breaking into loud cheers. It was one of those lines that felt more like wisdom than comedy. In the garage, Jay's work continued as if nothing had changed. He started restoring a 1914 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, a project he'd dreamed of doing for years but never had time to start. Even with his busy tour schedule, he found a few hours every night to work on it, methodically bringing the car back to life. He said the sound of its old motor reminded him of the early days in his father's garage, when everything was simpler and all he wanted was to figure out how things worked. Mavis remained his constant anchor. Despite her memory struggles, Jay made sure she was never far from the world they built together. He often took her on quiet drives through the hills, letting the motion and the wind fill the silence. Neighbors would sometimes spot them cruising slowly in one of his old classics, Jay's hand resting gently on the steering wheel, her head turned toward the sunset. For him, those drives weren't about nostalgia. They were about presence, about holding on to what still mattered. By December 2025, Jay was back on stage in Los Angeles for one of his final shows of the year. The energy in the room was electric. As always, he walked out with no intro music, adjusted the mic, and smiled. 75, he joked, and still no time to nap. The audience erupted. But before ending the show, he grew a little more reflective. "You know," he said softly, "I spent my whole life trying to make people laugh. But lately, I've realized laughter isn't just what I give. It's what keeps me alive." The audience stood up and cheered, many with tears in their eyes. It was a rare moment of emotion from a man who'd built his entire career on composure and calm. But that's what made it powerful. It was real. After the show, Jay didn't head to a party or an after event. He went home, grabbed a late-night sandwich, and spent a few hours in the garage polishing an old motorcycle under the soft glow of fluorescent light. That's where he's always been happiest, surrounded by the hum of engines, the smell of oil, and the comfort of knowing that every dent, every burn, every scar tells a story worth remembering. And as 2025 came to a close, one thing was crystal clear. Jay Leno wasn't a man defined by fame or fortune. He was defined by motion, by laughter, by love. And no matter what came next, his engine, both the real and the metaphorical one, would keep running strong, steady, and full of life. It was one of the few moments when Jay stepped onto a stage not as a performer, but as an honoree. And the room could feel the weight of it. His speech was simple, direct, and deeply heartfelt. He didn't talk about fame or legacy. Instead, he turned the spotlight toward the people who helped him heal. "They're the ones who helped me look at my face again and keep smiling," he said. The crowd fell silent, moved by the quiet sincerity in his voice. Even with all the chaos in his schedule, Jay never drifted far from the garage world he loved most. He continued hosting small meetups inside his workshop, showing young mechanics how to rebuild vintage engines, sharing stories from his early days, and encouraging everyone to learn by doing. For Jay, it wasn't just about fixing cars. It was about preserving passion, skill, and craft in a world that often forgets the beauty of working with your hands. By the end of 2025, Jay's life had settled into its perfectly balanced rhythm once again. Weekends were for the stage, packed stand-up shows where laughter filled the room. Early week mornings were for filming car segments, and most days were spent inside the garage under bright lights, surrounded by the soft hum of engines and the scent of oil and steel. That's where Jay found his peace, not in the noise of celebrity, but in the music of machines that never stop moving. After more than 50 years in entertainment, Jay Leno still lived by the same blueprint. Half performer, half mechanic, all heart. One side belonged to the spotlight, the jokes and the cheers. The other to the calm of the garage where everything felt real and steady. And somehow, after all the ups and downs, those two sides had finally become one. A perfect reflection of the man himself. Jay Leno didn't just chase success, he built it, bolt by bolt, laugh by laugh, moment by moment. Through fire, pain, and time. He stayed loyal to what he loved most: the work, the laughter, and the simple joy of creating something that runs. His story isn't just about comedy or cars. It's about resilience, legacy, and heart. If you love this deep dive into Jay Leno's incredible journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite Jay Leno moment? We'd love to hear it. And as always, thank you for watching. See you on the next one.